Alexander Isak has completed a British record £130 million transfer to Liverpool after Newcastle United capitulated on the final day of the window. The best case scenario is Newcastle United got £130 million for him on the final day of the window, a price that they could have secured 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Instead of that, they dilly-dallied. They said that he was only for sale for a very particular price. That particular price was not met, and still they sold him anyway. Just like a week ago when these two teams met, this is another huge victory for Liverpool, and the messaging is clear. The champions want to retain their title. Liverpool didn't buy Isak to try and win the league. They bought Isak to try and secure dynasty. And that starts by winning the league. Retaining the league is something that even great managers have really struggled to do. Arsene Wenger, a true great of the game, never retained a league title. Carlo Ancelotti never retained a title. Antonio Conte never retained a title. And Liverpool, despite their brilliance, haven't retained a title for a long time. I honestly think that not enough people know quite how dominant and brilliant Liverpool were for a particular period. And as a result, we're going to play a game and I'm going to spell it out. I'm going to ask you some questions. Who won the league in 1976? Who won the league in 1977? Who won the league in 1979? Who won the league in 1980? Who won the league in 1982? Who won the league in 1983? Who won the league in 1984? Who won the league in 1986, 1988, 1990? The answer to all of the above is Liverpool. Truly exceptional, utter dominance. But despite that dominance, what you can see is Liverpool haven't retained a league title since 1984. They won 3 in a row, 82, 83, 84, and they have never retained a title since then. So the first goal, the first moment, the first junction in this Arne Slot destination dynasty is to retain a league title. So how do they do it? Now they have this abundance of talent. Now they have this truly iconic manager. How do they make it work? What is the recipe that Arne Slot, the governor, needs to put into these players to make sure that they are capable of retaining a league? Sometimes I think football is a really simple game. You know, it can be complex and people love to talk about pie charts and XG and whatever else. But sometimes football is a really simple game. And sometimes the simplest answer is the correct one. Alexander Isak is the best centre-forward in the league. Do you know what you do? You play Alexander Isak as a centre-forward. You give him the iconic number 9 shirt. Imagine how the cop will rise to that occasion. Imagine how the cop will behold the sight of Alexander Isak leading the line in that number 9 shirt. You then do the next most simple thing. You've got Alexander Isak up front, then what do? You support him with the best that you have. And you simply do that by playing a 4-2-3-1 formation. And behind Alexander Isak, you have Mohamed Salah, Florian Wirtz, and Hugo Ekitike. Goals, goals, goals galore. Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike, all providing Alexander Isak with service, a trio full of craft, intelligence and ingenuity. And that to me is how Liverpool will line up. But this is the brilliance of Arne Slot, and this is why I constantly refer to Arne Slot as the governor. I think he is a true great. I think he is currently the best manager in the league. And we have seen him deploy many different strategies. We have seen him employ many different formations, quite often in the same game. Being pragmatic, being a manager that finds a way to win, being a manager that isn't totally devoted and dogmatic to a particular system is so refreshing. And Arne Slot, within game, will play different formations. I've seen a game where Arne Slot has employed 4 different formations in the same 90 minutes. So while I believe the 4-2-3-1 is the most sensible, it isn't by any stretch the only option. Like, obviously, he could just amend the shape, almost borrow from that Jurgen Klopp style. And Arne Slot has made a brilliant job of that. He's brought his own vision to the game. He's brought his own version of Liverpool. He's put his own methodology into these players. But he's also cleverly, artfully borrowed from before. He has married up his version of football, his Dutch version of football, total 90, Dutch control, calmness on the ball. But he has borrowed from what went before, the heavy metal football. I've spoken about this. It's heavy metal football combined with a little bit of Dutch R&B. That's what it is. You know those timeless R&B classics? Brandy and Monica, The Boy Is Mine. Married up with a bit of Metallica or whatever it was Jurgen Klopp used to like. You borrow a bit from Brandy and May sitting on top of the world and you put it together with some Iron Maiden. And that is what he has done so well. So don't be surprised to see various different formations. And the one that I think he's going to borrow from Klopp is the simple 4-3-3. So it'll be last season's midfield. Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, they will be the midfield, they will be the engine room, and what will happen in front of them is truly devastating. It will be Alexander Isak through the middle as the number 9, backed up by one of the most glorious goal scorers that the league has ever seen, one of the most glorious players that Liverpool have ever had, somebody who I believe will be targeting Ian Rush's insurmountable record. Mohamed Salah on one side and Hugo Ekitike on the other. Ekitike, Salah with Isak through the middle. That's dream come true stuff, isn't it? Like, genuinely, when you think about it, there isn't a defence in the world that can cope with that. You know, I'm talking about retaining leagues. And obviously, Liverpool will want more than that. It's not even about this year's league. It's about next year's league. It's about the year after league. But I kind of think it's almost like about Europe. You know, the Champions League final was in Budapest. Szoboszlai, Kerkez, lifting the European Cup aloft in the capital city of their birth. I feel like there's something written here. And that front line, you know, when you say it out loud like that, devastating, isn't it? I'm terribly sorry to interrupt this video, but I just need to ask you a massive favour. If you're enjoying this video, even a little bit, would you please click subscribe? It really helps me out, and I would love to welcome you into this community. So please do click that subscriber button. I've got loads of content coming out. And if you want to see more stuff, more behind the scenes stuff, you could become a member of the channel. There are various tiers, and there are lots and lots of videos up simply for your eyes only if you're a member. But go on, click subscribe. As I say, I'd love to welcome you in, and it massively helps me out. Cheers. The other option will be, and it's important to remember that Mohamed Salah is going to be going to AFCON this year. The option could be that they play 2 up front. Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak are totally capable of playing in a 2. Hugo Ekitike played in a 2 with Marmoush at Frankfurt. Alexander Isak has played in a 2 in his career as well. There is no doubt in my mind that those two could easily adopt an iconic 2, natural 2 centre-forwards, with Florian Wirtz occupying that space behind the Gianfranco Zola pocket. It could certainly happen. And with Mohamed Salah going to AFCON, maybe that is how you cross the impossible bridge of life without Mohamed Salah. On the face of it, losing Mohamed Salah from mid-December to late January potentially is an utter disaster. It's a disaster for anyone. You take the best player out of any club, it's a disaster. But then you think about the way that Liverpool have bought, the way that Liverpool have nurtured, the players that Liverpool have at their disposal, and suddenly it doesn't feel quite so insurmountable. So think of life without Mohamed Salah for that period. Ekitike, Wirtz, Cody Gakpo, Alexander Isak, Federico Chiesa, Rio and Gamoa as an impact substitute where necessary. It feels to me like there are options. And when you have a manager as brilliant as Arne Slot, he will work a way of managing his squad. Because that is one issue that didn't necessarily go his way last year. It's one issue that he would have really looked to rectify. And he most certainly has. I think the key is rotation. Rotation is always going to play a bigger part in Liverpool's season this season than it ever did last year. It was something that was actually a problem for them last year. I think Slot relied on 15 players at most last year. Quite frankly, that isn't enough. If Liverpool to have a season that they want to have, they will be playing in excess of 60 games. You simply cannot do that with 15 players. And even if you look at their fixture list post-international break, I think they played 6 games in 17 days or whatever. It is going to be a squad game for them. And I think that Arne Slot is looking at his squad, thinking about the rotation and realising that he has power this season. I think this is it, you know. I think this is the point. The rotation is going to be key. When it went a little bit stale for Liverpool last season, it was because they ran out of energy in the March. There was a lack of freshness. There was a lack of inspiration. They got done in the Cup, didn't they? And they didn't look particularly good at Wembley. Then they got launched out the European Cup by Paris Saint-Germain. They basically ran out of energy. That will not happen because they now have the opportunity to constantly freshen up the first team. And Slot's hungry for it. He constantly talks about that Paris Saint-Germain tie being his favourite ever game in football. He talks about the one at home in particular where they got knocked out as being the best game that he has ever been involved in. So you can tell that he is clucking, desperate for European nights at Anfield, iconic European nights at Anfield. He wants more. He feels like he let his team down there, and he refers to that as being one of his favourite moments. Now, I think he's got the squad and the experience within himself to go one step further. Playing at Anfield, under the lights, on a European night, is special. And I think maybe even Arne Slot in that moment was taken by surprise. The power of the evening. That won't happen again. And now his team are going to be like a coiled spring ready to launch into that magnitude of fixture. And it's great, isn't it, if you're a Liverpool fan there? Because you're listening to the manager talk and everything that the manager is saying totally chimes with how you see the game. Liverpool fans will always talk about what it's like at Anfield on a European knockout night. And the manager is totally on board with it. It sounds like the manager is a fan. If Arne Slot wasn't in the dugout, he'd be sat in the cot by the sounds of it. And that is exactly what you want. Everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. And this is it now. This is the dynasty build. He wants to secure more moments. He wants to have more glittering experiences. And this year, they could most certainly come because they're manoeuvring in the transfer market. Richard Hughes, FSG, Arne Slot, they all deserve a massive pat on the back. Like anyone suggesting that Alexander Isak was overpriced is wrong. It's a ludicrous theory. Alexander Isak is the best striker in the league. And he's gone for 125 million quid if you're Liverpool, 130 million quid if you are Newcastle and you want to present it that way. It's almost incidental. He's the best striker in the league, and let's call it 130 million quid. Now think about, just to put it in perspective, what Newcastle have had to pay to replace Isak, and Wilson to a degree, but Isak. What have they had to pay to replace their outgoing striker? 120 million quid. So it shows you, doesn't it? They have signed two players who, to be totally frank, are fairly underwhelming. And combined, they have had to spend the bulk, 95% of what they got in for Alexander Isak. So don't try and be presenting the Alexander Isak fee as being a rip-off, because it isn't. It's actually excellent value. This is it for Liverpool. They now have a team of icons. A team of icons to rival the team that dominated in that era that I was talking about before. Clement, Hansen, Souness, Dalglish, followed by Rush. This is it. Think about the icons in this team. Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Wirtz potentially. Gravenberch is brilliant. You look at Szoboszlai, you look at what is going on with Ekitike in the future, and then the jewel in the crown, Alexander Isak. This could be it for Liverpool. And I'm going to stick to my prediction, and I'm going to say it again. My prediction, and clip this up because I am guaranteeing that this is correct. I truly believe it. Liverpool will accrue 100 points. I don't even think it's a particularly wild statement. Liverpool this season will accrue 100 points. And people saying that that's wild and whatever, you know, the Centurions at Pep Guardiola were amazing. But Antonio Conte's Chelsea team with Victor Moses and Marcos Alonso got 93 points. 93 points. So I believe that anything is possible, and this Liverpool team are going to be devastatingly brilliant. They got the governor in charge. They had a window of all windows. Let's see how it pans out. As always, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like. Please click subscribe. And I look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments section below.